Hey everybody, welcome to Engaging the Phenomenon. Today, here with me, I have Jon Majerowski from UFOs on the Level. Welcome, John.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you, man. Big time.
Yeah, it's great having you here. So now, just for people not familiar with you, you have a channel, UFOs on the Level. How'd you get involved in UFOs?
Wow, man. Thanks. I started when I was like old enough to walk, maybe. So when I was a kid, my dad had experiences in the 50s and 60s, and I think even maybe up into the 70s, seeing craft in the sky. Multiple witnesses on every occasion. It wasn't just himself, domes, cigar-shaped crafts, and
Oh wow.
he was into it a lot, right? Right? And then back then there was like magazines and fan magazines and stuff in the 50s and 60s, and then in the 80s, VHS came out. We were like, I think we're the first kids on the block that had a VHS because Dad got a hold of there's a company down in Florida called UFO News or UFO TV. I think it evolved. I think it was called UFO News, but they put out videos, and it was just like a piece of paper. It was in one of these magazines where you can write them, and it was like $20 a video, and it was a nonprofit, and you can get a video, and it would be like Bruce Maccabee or Billy Meyer or any of the things, the Hudson Valley Flap, some of that. And actually, I started another YouTube channel recently, and I still my dad still had a lot of these VHS tapes, so I started taking them and dubbing them and ripping them and posting them on YouTube. It's called Saving VHS. So I just took a lot of these videos I'd never seen anywhere else and just like threw them up there, and some of them are the craziest stories. The Hudson Valley one was there, and a bunch of other things. So I grew up with it, and my dad was like, "This is real." And being a kid, you're like 5, 6. You would see weird things when you talk to people. They'd be like, they'd look at you like you were weird, or something was going on. And but to me, it was always just, this is real. Why, this is how it is. So I always had like a huge fascination with it my whole life, and the fringe of the whole thing, and kind of, it was odd to be the outcast and kind of get into it. But I've always done it. I've always, been into it, followed everything along, followed all the greats, Dolan's and, Grant Cameron and Linda Moulton Howe and, everybody, watch every show I could, and, looking at the sky forever. So that's really how I got into it. And I was quiet though a long time
Yeah.
because the Men in Black scared the hell out of me, man.
Yeah. When did you get involved in like the research community? Just like even on a level of just engaging with people on social media.
Um, kind of pretty early on, like Facebook when it first came out. I know that we in our you and I've talked, and got really big into CE5 when it didn't happen, but like even lately, I usually do a lot of YouTube and other sites, but Reddit and things like that. But then I kind of got turned on to UFO Twitter by George Knapp. Was in one of the ghost hosts at one time. He was like, "Hey, if you're not on UFO Twitter," and just started going on about it. And I was like, "All right, cool. I got to get on there." And for the longest time, I was just a lurker, right? Every once in a while, I would drop some things here and there, and I would just say some things or kind of how I felt. But, it's only been a couple of years that I really miss that I'm here, man. Totally thanks to you.
Oh, thank you, man.
You ruined it for everybody by bringing me aboard.
Ruined UFOs.
You ruined UFO Twitter, YouTube, everything, all because you brought me on board.
Oh man, it's great having you, and you do a great job with your channel. Anybody who is here on YouTube checking this out, make sure to go to John's channel at UFOs on the Level. But now, your dad, you talked about he had sightings.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any sightings with him at all?
No, we never did. There was one, I take that back. There was one sighting that had been 92, and we had moved out to the country. We were living in the city. We moved out to the country. It was middle of nowhere. It was actually by the Toledo airport. So we're used to seeing planes, and there's Air Force wing there as well. So we'd see F-15, 15 sightings taking off. And one night he yelled at me to come outside, and there was like a ball of light, and it was multicolor, red, green, yellow, blue. It just looked like a light, but it was moving really erratically. So I ran outside and checked it out, and we're standing out. It was really late. We're standing about 11:30, 12, something like that, and we're staring at this thing, and over the top of us, like two F-15s, F-16s, full afterburners, no lights.
Yeah.
Heading north, right? And it was in the north. This was in the north sky. Full afterburners, just after it. And that light just went and was gone.
Yeah.
And those planes went. And, I think it was like close to winter. And I was outside with like no shoes.
Yeah.
Standing in like the stone driveway, like, we're like watching it, and it was just bizarre, right? And then it was gone, and it was like, well, either they're doing some weird stuff, either they're doing training or practicing or whatever, and that was just something, or I don't know. But that was the only one that we had really seen together, But I don't know. There's weird stories about. I have a half brother. I've never said this story before, but I have a half brother that when he was a kid, I think he was probably he was under 10. He was playing in a field with all his his sister and his brother and a bunch of other kids from the neighborhood. So there was like 10, 15 kids playing in this field in the neighborhood, and he went missing. And he was missing for a long time. I can't remember. It was a few hours, right? And then it was like cops, like everybody's looking for him, whatever. And he just showed back up in the middle of the field. And that was weird. Yeah. I mean, they told me that story, and he still has, to this day, he remembers it, but he doesn't, know what happened or whatever. Not everybody, seems that's kind of a really odd, it's like broad daylight kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a real weird thing. And my dad always had the theory that it follows families, like,
that's a popular, I don't want to say popular, but a lot of researchers have suggested that. And there's a lot of actually, it seems that there's cases where that seems to be the case.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, and I didn't really have my full on, I know what this is. This is happening sighting until the orange orb showed up.
That's where I wanted to go next. So when was it that occurred?
That was probably I think it was probably about 3 years ago now. And it was my wife, we were driving over the river, and just, the orange orb experience everybody talks about, moving erratically, but it was a group of them. I would say probably about 10 or, maybe. And they would be here and then here and then here and then here, and then just moving against the wind. It was raining and sleeting sideways. It was Thanksgiving. We were coming home from my in-laws, and my wife was driving. She hates driving in the rain, and she doesn't really like the whole phenomenon stuff at all. And this was going on, and I'm freaking out, going, look, pull the car over, right? Yeah. And she's like, no. And I'm like, look. And she's like, no. It's got to be Christmas lights. I'm like, that's not happening. That's not Christmas lights, So, that really happened. And then literally July 5th of last year, my 3-year-old, she was 2 at the time, laid down on the deck and said, Daddy, lay down, and never did that before. And I laid down with her head to head on the deck, and I looked up, and there's this white ball right in the sky. And she was just like, yeah, there you go. And she called them yes. I don't know why. She's like, yes. Hey, look, it's a yeah. What? And then, the whole family's outside looking at this thing. And then my stepdaughter comes outside, and she's like, look, there's another one, and just points to the other side of the sky. So there's one in the north and one in the south, and they're like right there. Just like,
that's awesome.
So like nobody's denying it at this point, right? But my wife still, she doesn't want to talk about it. Like, if literally, and this, I've told her this, and she'll probably see this and get mad at me, but we've had this conversation where it's literally just me and her sitting in a room, and I'm like, you saw that, right? And she's like, no.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's going to be the case for some people.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's finally came around to it now, but she doesn't want to know what that means to say yes. She doesn't want to have the implications of what comes after yes. So you're right. People are going to freak out, man.
It's gradual steps. I mean, there's obviously some kind of process going on right now where, people are being acclimated to an extent, whether by design or whether that's just a natural unfoldment of how these issues are going, and I think it's obvious we're going to see a lot more come out probably in even the next few months.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think they're going to give us a whole, alien disclosure kind of thing or crash retrievals or anything of that sort. I think it's just going to be, pretty gradual. I think it's going to be gradual. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. But I think like somebody's turned the knob up, and I think Grant Cameron said it, like in 2016, somebody green lighted it or something happened where it went the knob with the slow disclosure knob had been turning, and my dad had always theorized that as well. It was like, hey, ever since the 50s, they've been trying to get us used to this idea, and then in the 80s, it kind of ramped up with like ET and
Yeah,
Close
yeah,
Encounters of the Third Kind, and now it's just turned up even more. And I think in 16, somebody went and broke the handle off, right? So
yeah, yeah. We're in uncharted territories now. Clearly, and there's no going back at this point. I don't see how that's possible in any way, shape, or form. Because now you
totally.
got academics pursuing it. You know, you got people like Jeffrey Kripal talking about it. You know, he's got a book with Whitley Strieber. Um, Get Dr. Diana Pasulka, and all these people in the Invisible College are actually able to do the science now. With how
Hmm.
science is developed, they have better technology to analyze things. You know, Jacques Vallée's book is coming out next month.
That'll be huge.
It's
That'll
going to
be
be talking
huge.
about
Yeah.
materials. I'm sure it's going to go over some of the materials that he was able to analyze. So we're in exciting times.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no looking back really. And I think it's finally, I think the pandemic played a huge part in it as well because it's like, at this point, nobody ever assumed a global pandemic was possible. So now they're like
Yeah.
aliens, UFOs, whatever, bring
Yeah.
it.
Seriously. Everybody was saying, now I'm just waiting for the aliens to land now. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. At
just
this point,
like,
it's like, whatever, bring it. So I mean, I think you're gonna have that fundamental side that's just gonna lose their minds, and you're gonna have people like my wife that just don't want to believe it, even if it's in your face.
yeah.
But
And just like I
it's
was saying, my,
happening.
my friend at work, you know, he's always going back and forth. He'll, like the other night, he was saying something about it and he's like, it's because of you, Yandoli, you know? And
It's
but
true.
then out of nowhere, he'll ask questions about it, you know? And then,
Like serious, not making fun of you. Just like
yeah,
literally wants to know. Like, yeah, 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 yeah.
and then, a few minutes later, he'll kind of be like, oh, well, there's like a denial thing. So it's a gradual process. And, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's breaking down those walls, right? Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
You got to break down
happening,
the walls to
man.
get people to get into it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's all thanks to you.
Oh,
You're a
for
big, you're
him,
a big part of this, man.
no, everybody's playing
For
an
the
important
community as
role.
well.
Yeah.
No, dude, you're huge in the community, man. You're like, I'm telling you, you're the man, and appreciate you. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it without you. You really encouraged me and helped me the whole way, and I'd seriously just be a lurker by now. So I appreciate you pulling me out, man. Honestly.
Yeah. No, man, it's great to have you. But anyways, everybody, make sure to check out John's channel, UFOs on the Level. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.